Okay. Today what we're going to discuss is two HTTP requests, but now we are going for another phase that is, imagine that you have created a page and that the page needs to request something from a server. So you're going to make that HTTP request like a GET or so, and then you're going to get the data and do something with the data, right? So that's the objective of this hands-on that we're going to do. Now, what we did last lecture is just play with HTTP requests and how we add data and things like that. In case of like the GET, you don't need that data in the body, but in the put and post, you need it. All those things we need to do. We were doing with a Postman, right? Postman was doing for us. You kind of write the basic what needs to be done, and Postman was doing that for you. It was generating the HTTP request. But in our case now, in our web page, we are not going to use Postman. We are going to go straight writing JavaScript commands that will do that for us instead of Postman. So that's what is the objective of this class. So if you keep going down here, and this is a slide again, is in the canvas. So if you click there, you get the HTTP request, and we kind of went through the first portion of it. So we discussed about this and that, that is stateless, and what is HTTPS, and the methods we discuss, and we work on these things in our project. Last class project we had the hands-on. We talk about the headers and the status codes and so on, and then we had the hands-on. So we did that part there, right? We installed the Postman, and we did that. We work with the single book API, and that's it. So now what we're going to do is the second portion that is again is going to be a hands-on, is using JavaScript to generate HTTP requests. So we are bypassing the Postman application. So that's what we're going to do. One thing that I ask you to install, and takes like a 15 seconds to install, is this Node.js. You might have it already. So if you go to your, let me see if I have here. Here. So if you type this in your terminal window, node space dash dash version, if it comes up any version here, it means that you have it installed. But if you don't have it installed, you need to install, because we are going to use Node.js for accessing a fake database that we are going to create. And we are going to discuss more about this in a second. But do that for now. If you haven't done yet, do this in your terminal window and check if you get any kind of version there. If you do not have, then just go for it and install it, download it. It's very quick. And I gave, if you go to my announcements, I have it there, that, or you can Google, just say Node.js download, and it's going to get the Node web page, and you just download that. All right. So you can do either way. All right. So this is done. So you need to install this. That is this guy here. And you're going to install, what else? The Node.js we are going to use for one thing for this project. Node.js is a big, kind of a big framework. You can do a lot of things with it, but the thing that we're going to use, the feature that we're going to use, is this running a fake database. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to create a database that is like it's like a server. So we have some endpoints in this fake server, and from the endpoint we can do things like add new post, we can delete post, we can update posts, and so on. So that's what we are going to do. But to do that, we are not going to use any server API out there. We are going to create our own server API locally, and we are going to run it. So it's kind of, that's what I say fake, because nobody else can see that database, just you, all right, in your local machine. All right. So what I want you to do is, let me close this. All right, so what I want you to do is in the HTTP request, if you go down here, what is this? Second part, right, is via HTTP request via JavaScript. There is here this hands-on project initial source code. So you need to go there, this guy here, and you need to download. It's a zip file. You download and unzip. So you have like a minute. Go ahead, do that for me. And where I save that is, I always try to make it like in a good place. And so where all my projects are located. So in this case is in summer 2025. I have here 5 HTTP requests via JavaScript. I create this directory and then I unzip it and I got those guys right here. So that's what you need to do. Now, just let you know, here where I live, there is a lot of thunder and lightning happening right now. So my power, it might go down. So if it happens, just keep trying to, or just stay log in, that eventually I will come back. All right. But it's just let you know that things here are very stormy. So go ahead, download that zip file, unzip it, and you should have these 4 files there. As we have done before, I copy this directory, so control copy. I go to my terminal window, and then I do like a CD. So here you have the CD and that directory. I hit enter, and then I type code dot and space dot. So I run VS Code from that directory. And that's what I'm going to show in a second is this. Let me go back here. This guy right here. So that's what you should have in your, if you run VS Code in that location. This. Done. All right. Does anybody needs more time or can I go? All right. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to create an application. Let's see if I have the application here somewhere. I had it somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. This one here. So this is what we are going to create. Again, this is not like the greatest project, but we are going to exercise HTTP requests using JavaScript. So again, what you have is that a fake API that has a lot of blog entries. So one of the things that you can do, you can click here, view all the blogs. If you click here, the server will receive that information, will process, check the server database, and is going to send you the information, and you're going to list it here. So there are like 5 blogs here in this case. Or what you can do is, for example, I want to know more about Guava. So I can come here, is instead of seeing all the blogs, I can come here and say, I want to see just blog number 2, because it's going to have more details, and this is the detail that it has. All right, and some explanation. So this is the way I can go more deeper in one specific blog and see what is there. So this is one. You can add a new blog here. So if I say like a title, let's say cinema author John, and here I put a lot of things there, right? And I can add this new blog into the server database. So if I click here, and it's not showing up anything, and that is okay. But if you go view all the blogs, you should have the cinema here by John, and is blog number 6. If you want to see the details, you're going to get all the details right there. So again, view all blogs, view one blog, add a new blog, and then update a blog. So let's say I want to say John Smith here, not just John. So what we're going to do is here, update a blog. I'm going to say blog number 6. And then I just change the author. I'm going to say John Smith. And I click the update. Where is my 6? And if I view the blog number 6 again, you're going to see that it has updated this guy here. And we went through this like in the Postman, but again, we are not using Postman anymore, and that's good. And finally, we can delete a blog, right? So if I say blog number 6 here and delete a blog, when I view all the blogs, you should not see blog number 6 anymore as expected. So that's what we're going to play in today's hands-on. Don't know if you're going to be able to finish this, but let's try. So this is the main application that we are going to work on, right? I can close this. I can close this. I can close this. All right, so let's do it. So I'm going to keep this aside just for us to see. Now, as I mentioned to you, what we're going to do is we are going to create a fake server. And the server basically is going to look at some file. And the file that we are looking at is this db.json. So if you click here, you're going to see that this is like a JSON format, right? You have the curly brackets there, then you have a key, and then column, and then you have the value. In this case, it's this whole thing here is just an array. Just remember when you see like square brackets, means array, right? Array of what? Blogs. So you have a blog here, and arrays, remember each element is separated by comma, so you have there another blog and another comma, another blog, another comma, and so on. In this case, we have a second entry here that is info, and this is just to help you out when we execute this command. Is always here. So if you forget about what we need to issue to run this fake API, we can you can come to this file here. The command is right here, so you can use it. All right. So a few things here. If you remember this single book API, we have different endpoints, right? In this case, if you want something that has different endpoints, you can create blogs right in the root. This is kind of the beginning of this JSON file. So you have this would be one root, and this is going to, sorry, endpoint. This is going to be a second endpoint, and you can create different endpoints. For us, we are just going to work on this endpoint here. However, we are going to do all sorts of CRUD. CRUD is create, what is there? CRUD, updated and delete, and I forgot what the R means, but it is, you can use those operations to or retrieve the information. So we are going to do that. So basically, we are going to do everything that we need to do, and what we learned in the past lecture, we are going to do with just this endpoint, and we are going to change a few things here as we go along. So This is going to be our database. Sorry, not only the database, but the server itself. So we need to run this. To run this, what we are going to do, we are going to execute this command here, this one right here. So what I want you to do is you can copy this. Now, if you don't have it, like I don't have it here, the terminal window, you can come here in this button here. If you click there, you get a terminal window right there, and then you can paste it, Control V. So if you hit enter there, I I think hasn't finished because I have it's already running. Oh, that is this double quotes here that I put there. There is no double quotes, so I'm going to remove that double quotes. So hit there again. Now what you're going to do, you're going to get a lot of things, but the things that are important as here is resources. So you're going to get this location and this location. And we are going to run not only this in your computer, but we are going to run the fake server. We are going to run our application that is going to access this. So there will be two programs running at the same local host. And the way to distinguish between one and the other is this port number right here. In this case, is 8,000. That is what we put here, right? So this one here, the port is 8,000. So that's how the computer knows that it needs to go here to access the fake server. Now, if you run and you got the resources, you got this guy here, what you can do is without doing anything. Oh, sorry, let me do it again. So what you can do is, let me get this guy here. Okay, let me open this guy here. So if you go to a browser, Control V, and you type HTTP localhost 8000/blogs, and remember blogs is one of the endpoints, and you hit enter. If your server, fake server, is working properly, then you should get all the blogs here in an array format. So array and then each blog individually here. So check if you can do that. All right. So if you do that and it's working, you know that the Node.js is working. The Node.js, let me go back here for a second. Let me move this away for a second. We know that this npx is kind of the Node.js, and we are saying, okay, run a JSON server, like a fake JSON server, by watching. So that's the watch here, this file here. And that's the file that we have in our project, right? And then in the port 8000. So that's the whole explanation about this command. npx is just going to run a JSON server by watching this file in the port 8000. So everything so far so good. It's working okay. All right. Let me see something else here. Now, I want to discuss what is the, let me open again our canvas. So just give me 1 second. Because in the slides, you are going to see the functions that we are going to use to make the GET request. So just stay with me here for a second. So if I go all the way down here in the slides, so here we have it. So Okay, so if we go down all the way, so simple books. Okay, we are here, right? Doing that. So we install the Node.js, we install, running the fake database, we ran, so we understand how to do it. And then I gave it didn't show before, but that's what you're looking for, resources. You should have blogs, and we have it. And if you type the command in your browser, you should get the values there as we got it. Now, the JavaScript commands that we are going to use to generate HTTP requests, I'm going to provide here in these next functions, next slides here, all right? So let's go one by one. If you want to run a HTTP GET request, then you could put this in all the places that you're using, or you can create a function, and then like this name here, HTTP GET request, and you provide the URL, for example, www.amazon.com, for example. So this is going to be an input parameter. And basically what you're going to do is we are going to use the fetch, and we have used the fetch before. I don't know if you remember when we were using like to read the drinks text file, we use the fetch, right? And instead of URL, we were providing where the file, the text file for the drinks were located, but basically it's the same, it's a URL. So what is happening here? So I'm going to use a GET request. So I'm going to use a fetch that is basically you're saying, fetch the data for me in this URL, right? And when the URL returns the data, then save the data that you are getting back from this URL, get back and put here. So this is an input for an arrow function. So here is an arrow function. So this is the input for the arrow function. And the function is right here. And the function just say what? I want to convert this text to a JSON format. So you're going to have the curly brackets, the key, column, value, and things like that. So that's what we are doing. We're getting the response and change it to a JSON format. All right. And then basically after you do that, this might take a while, might take like 1 second, depending on the size of the response. It might take a microsecond, but it takes some time. So what you need to do is you need to wait until this conversion is done, and then only then you are going to get the data. That is what is returning here. It's returning something. I'm placing in this input for this new arrow function. And in this case here, I'm just saying, okay, I don't have anything else that I need to do with this data, just return the data. So this function will return a JSON array of objects, like the blogs, all right? So this function here, when I call in my JavaScript, is going to return an array of blocks. Basically, that's in this case here that we want. However, if you say here blogs / number 1, do I still have it here? Yes. So if I click here and put here, I put like a / like number 3, and we did that in the Postman, remember? We did something similar. Now, instead of an array, the JSON fake server is returning just one blog. So you don't have an array anymore. You have just one blog. So that's why it starts with curly brackets instead of the square brackets. So if I come here back, you see that here I have all the blocks, right? So if in my URL, remember the URL that I mentioned in that function as an input parameter, if I provide just that, I will get an array of blogs. If I get this in the URL, that input, I say /3, I'm just going to get one blog, not all the blogs, and not as array, it's just the blog itself. All right, so this is the, where is it? Let me put it back. That's this guy here, right? So this function, it might return like an array of blogs or might return one blog. It depends on what you put it here. If you don't put /3, so if you don't put it, something like that, you're going to get an array of blogs. If you put the URL /3, this function will return just one blog. So this function for get, we can use for both cases, for multiple blogs or just one blog. Okay, sometimes you get the error. Remember, we will discuss about 400 error, 500 error. You can catch here if you want. There are other ways of doing this catch, but you can check like in the response, you can get dot status. So you get a number, this response dot status, you are going to get a value that say 200, 300 or so. So you can check that too, okay? All right. The post request. The post request is, again, I create this small function here, and we are going to use this function to post blogs. So how do? You need to go, first you need to go to the site that has the fake server, right? So the URL is here for that reason. And the second is you need to provide the blog, that the new blog that you're going to use it. So you need these two pieces of information when you call this function in our main program. And what's happening is kind of the same thing here, return, await, and fetch. And up to here is the same as the other one. However, if you remember here, it finished here. Then there is the close parenthesis here. But in this case, it doesn't finish. It has a lot of things more before closing the parentheses. All right. Why the other one, this one here, doesn't have all that information that this one has? Why this one does not have? Does anybody remember the reason for that? I kind of talked about this last lecture. This is the GET request. The GET request is like 95% of your transactions, HTTP requests in your browser. You're going to use the GET request because the GET request, first, doesn't need any data. Second, because it's a GET request is so common, they decide that you do not need to have anything else. You just put the URL. The POST request, now you need the data. So first you need to define it's a post, it's a patch, is whatever it is. So you need to tell here, right? So if you pay attention, this is, look at this curly brackets that goes up to here. This is a JSON structure again, right? Curly brackets, then you have the key and value, and things like that. So basically, that's the way that you're passing information. Remember, we pass information in the Postman. We use like the body, right? The body to pass information. This is kind of the body. You're saying the body. We are sending a post request, first of all, in this fetch here is a post request, and the body is that JSON, this guy here, remember, this is going to be a blog, and this blog is going to be a JSON format. So when you send data over the internet, you don't send things that are structured, like a JSON objects. What you're really sending is text. Remember, we discussed this in the last lecture. So what happened here is you need to get this blog that is coming from your main program, that is a JSON structure, and you need to stringify, meaning you are going to convert this, instead of an object, is going to be just a very long string with double quotes at the beginning, double quotes at the end, and this function comes from this library here, the JSON, or this object, dot stringify. This is the method. And then this is the body that you're going to send. And in the headers, remember we have a headers in every single request. We are going to say that the body is an application and it's going to be a JSON. So your server knows that even though it's a string, it's going to be receiving a text, but it can convert that if needed to get and reshape it, this string into a JSON object there if needed. So this is the post request, all right? So far, so good. The patch is very similar to the post. Again, the patch, you are sending some data. Remember, the patch, you don't need to send all the information about a blog. You don't need to send the author name and the title and the content. You can just change, for example, the name of the author, right? So you can change just that. So here is going to be a JSON object again, but just with the field that you want to change. And then what you're going to do is basically the same. You're going to do a fetch, and this fetch, because it's not a get, you need to create this JSON object here where you define the method. So it's going to be a patch. You need to send the body, right? The thing that needs to be changed. So the same thing here, you're going to stringify and so on. And the headers is exactly the same as the previous one, the post one. And then finally, the delete. The delete is kind of a simple one. Is you just need to provide the URL. In this case, would be, for example, here blogs. If I say blogs and then /3, if I hit enter now, it's going to be a get request, right? But if I use as a delete request, you are going to delete, the server will delete this blog right here. So when you send the URL for delete, you need to add to this regular path, you need to add the blog ID number, that in this case is number 3. All right. Go back here. All right. And that's it. So what happened is all these functions I created and you can use it. So these functions will be there in your original code there, the initial code that I provide and you downloaded already. All these functions, the way that they are already there for you to use it. So if we go, let's close this guy here. So if you go to the HTTP request.javascript, you're going to see that you have the functions here. So you have the delete function, that is just a delete method, nothing else you need to provide. Then you have the patch request. And again, what you're going to do is you're going to, the method is patch, and you need to provide the fields that needs to be patched, and so on. So you have the post and you have the get request. So that's basically what we have. Since we are going to use this guy here so often, I decide to create like a blog URL variable, and then we're just going to use this throughout our code. So basically that's what we're going to do. Does anybody has any questions so far? All right. Very good, very good. So let's go for it. So let's go back. Let's see, do I still have the page just for you to see what we have there? Document, so right here. So we are going to work in each of those separately, all right? So we are going to start with this one, we are going to implement, then we are going to the next one, we are going to implement, and so on. Implement and test, right? So that's what we are going to do. So the first one, we are going to say view all blogs. And so if I look at let's look at first at how would do that. So when I click here, it's going to take some action. So what we need to do in JavaScript to make this happen? Can someone tell me? forget about the database. I'm just saying, if I click this button, I wanted to take some action. How do we do this in the DOM?
We'd first need a DOM reference to it.
Very good. And then?
We would add an event listener for the click.
Very good. And you call a function, and this function will take care of what needs to be done. The function, probably one of the lines in the function will be, one of the first lines on this function will be that the get request for all the blogs. And then when you retrieve, then you're going to, in the function, you need to generate all those things. So basically exactly what we need to do here. So we are going to work on this. So first of all, we need kind of get the location of this and then add event listener. So let me put this aside a little bit. And let's go here. First of all, let's take just a quick look in the HTML. And here is the first one. We haven't used field set before, but field set is just to provide like a rectangle. You see the rectangle? And then you can put a legend in the rectangle. So that's just a fancy thing to do. But I don't care if you do or not, but that's how I put this, I generate this example. All right, just let you know. So let's see again. So we have here the set field, right, where you put the legend. And then here there is a button, right? So there is a button. The type is a button. And I don't know even if we need that, but anyhow, we have the ID, and this ID is important so that we can use later, as you said, to get the reference and then add into that reference the event listener. So we have what we need here. So when we go to this guy here, let me close this one here. Let me close, well, we can keep this for now. So let's go to the JavaScript here and the code insert. All right, so let me move a few things here to stay in a way that we can check it. So let's split the window here. Close that for now. Let's see here. Request and the HTTP, I'm going to move here too. All right. So where is, close this one here. So let's start working on these code inserts, right? We have done this in the past. The first thing we need to do is, by purpose, I didn't add the field for response. So if you look at here in the body, if you keep going down, it's missing here where we are going to put the response, where the blogs are going to be shown, right? So we need to create that. So just here, I'm just pasting this guy here from section number 3. And again, I'm creating a field set. The field set has a legend, say server response. And here is, again, I need this ID because inside here, dynamically, I'm going to put all the blogs that I get from the server. So I need to know where to put it. And it's going to be putting here on this div here based on this ID. So that's what we are doing there. Now, let's see. So for view all the blogs, what we need to do is first we need to get that reference, right? The DOM reference that for that button. So go back here. And what we need to do is here, let's take a quick look here. This window.add event listener load setup. Does anybody remember why we put this line first? Can someone remind me? We discussed this before.
It's used to call our.
Say it again.
It's used to call our setup function.
Yes, but the thing about this is the load. Why does it matter, the load here? Why do I need to create an event listener for that? The problem is, if you look at your HTML, the script is right here in the head, right? In the head. So you are going to create this script, the JavaScript interpreter is going to parse this file before creating these fields, before creating those fields. So there is no problem, but the problem is in this JavaScript, we are going to get some DOM references of an element here. For example, this element right here. But this element might not have been created yet because this is going to be parsed first. So if in your function you say, oh, go to this ID and get this the reference for this ID, well, the object is not there yet. So you're going to get some errors. So what we are doing in reality is creating a listener that run this setup only when all these objects are being placed in memory. It's not displayed yet in your browser window, but everything has been placed in memory. So now I can look for IDs because they exist, because it waits until all these guys to be placed there, and then I can, in JavaScript, run, for example, this setup and get the reference, add listeners, and so on. So this is important because you wanted to wait until all the elements, the HTML elements, to be loaded in memory, and then you are going to run this setup here. That is going to get all the references. Everybody understand what I said? All right. So this is it. So again, what we are going to do is we are going to create some DOM references and we are going to add some listeners. They are just functions, right? So what we are going to do here in the setup, I'm going to create this function first. Let me see how we do here, just to follow the example here. So we are going to go in 3.2 and we are going to copy this line here. Control copy. Oh, but we have not created the function itself. So let's see. We have it here. So we don't have it. So let's create the function. That is this one here, right? So control copy. Function. Control V. Okay. So you have the function. And now you are going to add this guy right here. That is 3.1. So view all blogs button, that is going to be a reference, right? So 3.1, go back there, control copy, and we are going to put it here. So that's what we have there. So again, I just got a reference to that button and using the document get element by ID, and I provide the ID that is in the HTML. So I know where this button is located in memory. Now we need to add event listeners. And again, I'm calling a function here. So we need to create that function. So let's create that function here, curly brackets. And then what we are going to do is add the event listener. That is 3.2. So if you go to 3.2, copy that, Control V. All right. So what you have here is view all blogs button. That is a reference. We are add event listener. When it's clicked, I want to run this function. So this function has not been created. We are going to create this function, and it should be right here. So create the display. So give me a second here. Okay, so we need to create that function, retrieve. Add event listener, create. Okay. So copy this whole thing from 3.3. Control copy. Control V. So again, when the button is clicked, it's going to run this function, and this is the function that is going to read, right? So I put a comment in everything that this function needs to do. And the first thing is issue a HTTP GET request to get all the blogs, plural. All right, so let's do that. So does anybody has any idea how we are going to put this? Is a one single line that we are going to put here to retrieve all the blogs. Does anybody has any suggestion how to do that? Okay, if you remember, the function that we're going to use is this one here. So for get, for post, we have all these functions given to us, right? So control copy, and remember, it's going to return some data. So that's okay. So we are going to return some data. And if it's just the main path there, we are going to get all the blogs. But basically, we are going to run this function here. So control copy, right here, through V. So now the URL, which URL should I put there? Come on, everybody.
The blog URL.
Very good. So it's this guy here, the blog URL, that represents this whole thing. So I just don't want to keep typing this guy here because we're going to type for all commands that we're going to do. I'm going to put it right here. So that's what we are going to do. Now, this returns something, right? So what I need to do is I want to save it. So that's why I have the equal sign here. I want to save the information that is returning. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use this let blogs. And by the way, because this is a function that might take a while, we need to use the await there. So I'm going just to replace, so copy this whole thing here that is in section 3.4, and I'm going to replace this. It'll be easier than retype the whole thing. And blog URL is blog URL. All right, so everything is fine. So again, I'm calling this get request over that address, the blog URL, and we need to wait until it processes. That might take a while, and then it's going to return here. Because I am using the blog URL blogs endpoint, we are going to get an array of blogs. So just remember, this is going to be an array of blogs, right? So just let you know. All right. Now, what we need to do is remember, we are going to place these blogs into a location here, right? So if we go all the way down, right here, we need to put it here. So what we need to get this, again, a reference for that. And then we don't need an event listener for this. It's just we need the location because we are going to add things here, right? So we just need the reference for this guy here. And how do we do that? Is again in the create DOM references function, we are going to add this line here. So I'm going in the 3.5, control copy. Okay, so here in the create DOM references, V. So now I have the location where I'm going to put all the blogs information, right? I know where in the memory. And the thing is, every time I do a new search, instead of seeing all the blogs, I want to just see one blog or so. So what we need to do is kind of a clean up this location, and then we can put the new information that we are getting from the the server, right? So to do that, to clean it up what is inside, we can use this alt window.inner HTML and equal to empty. Remember, the inner HTML is just whatever children inside this tag is going to be erased. Basically, that's what it says here. And where we are going to put that? In the function itself, right here, cleaning the display for the new data. So I'm going to put it here, Control V there. Okay, so we did that. And now what we need to do, I have blogs as a plural, right? So I need to do like a loop over so I can get from this array, I need to get every single blog. And how do I do that? It's just using a for loop as we see here. You could use map, you could use different things. I'm using a for loop here. And I'm going to copy this whole thing, 3.7, and we are going to discuss line by line what it does. Copy. So we are looping over all the blogs. So I'm going to put it here, for example, here, Control V. A lot of code today. So let's see here. Okay, so we are here in the for loop. I'm going to even separate a little bit more here. And remember, from what we saw in the view all the blogs, let me just go back here for a second. For view all the blogs, I'm just interested in like a blog ID, the blog title. So I'm going to put like a dash. So I'm putting this. So, but I have a blog ID, blog title, and then I have the author. So I'm going to have by, that is a word that I'm going to put it there, inserted afterwards, and then the author name right here. All right, so this is what we're going to do, and we are going to repeat over and over this. But remember, this is what we need for now. So if I go back here, where we are, so this is what we want, right? So this guy here, that is in the comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two guys here inside a div. So I group them together. So how do I do that? I create, during run, on the fly, I'm creating a new element that is called div, right? So remember, we have seen that before, document.create element, and it's going to be a div. And this is just an element that is in the memory, but is not attached to anything to our DOM that we already have. Now, after doing that, we need to create the title. Remember the Brigadeiro, 1-Brigadeiro. So that's what we are going to create here. And I'm just saying that this 1-Brigadeiro is going to be a H2. So to do that, we are going again, document.create element H2 there. So we create another tag there on the fly in the memory. And this is just a reference of that thing there. Now, what we need to do is I need to get the blog number, ID, and the blog title. So remember this blog, it has that information for us, right? So if you look at, let's see what is here. If you go JSONDB, each blog has a title, each blog has an article, the content, the author, and the ID, all right? So each blog has this. So I can access, for example, Brigadeiro, just looking for the keyword title, I can access its number, its ID, by providing this keyword here, this key, right? So just let you know, JSONDB, so we'll go back here. All right, so that's what I'm doing here. So the title element, that is a H2. Remember H2, you have the angle brackets, H2, but you have a text inside, right? So the text inside is this inner text. So this is the H2 reference, and you're saying the inner text of the H2, I want you to put something there for me. We have discussed this before. This is, does anybody remember what is this? Anyone? This is a template string, meaning that the JavaScript interpreter is going to try to make this a string with variables if there are some variables. So the variable is this guy here, $ curly brackets. So the JavaScript interpreter knows that this is a variable that it needs to go inside, get its value, and put it here. So it's going to replace this whole thing, for example, with the number 1. Then this is just a dash, so it's going to be interpreted as a text, just a dash. And then I want the blog title, right? I want a Brigadeiro. So we got this, we got the dash, and now I need the Brigadeiro. And the Brigadeiro, again, how do I access? Is the blog. Remember, we are looping over all the blogs. So every single blog, I'm getting its ID, and then dash, and then the blog title. It's going to be Brigadeiros. So 1 dash Brigadeiros. And this is going to be the inner text of the H2 object that we created, that is this guy here, as title. Now, the other thing that we need to do, going back here, we are going to do this line here that it says by, and then the author, right? So we need to create that. And this is, I put as a H3, that is going to be the author. So again, we are going to repeat again what we have done twice. We are going to get the document, create element, and H3, and then the inner text. I'm going to put a template string that is start here and finish there. And then the JavaScript interpreter is going to type this by. It's just a word, space, and then it sees, oh, there is a variable here, and it's go to this variable blog and fetch the author. That's, I don't know, John or so, and is going to put this whole thing by John Smith, is going to put in the inner of this H3 here. Oof. Now, everything we create so far, these guys here, they are floating around. So the first thing we need to do is the title and the author elements, this guy here and this guy here, we need to append inside this div element. So that's the first thing we are going to do. So in the div element, we are going to append the title element and the author element. Now, these two guys now in memory, they are inside the div element. So far, so good. But now this guy, we need to put inside the output window. That is a div itself, but we are putting an inner div that has all this information. So that's what we are doing. The output window, we are going to append, and then we are appending this guy here. So the title and the author is going to, in the div, is going to be placed here. And this is part of our HTML. Remember the HTML that is right here. And then because we append, it's going to show up in our screen. Now let's go back here. And remember, this is a loop. So it's going to go over all the blogs one by one, and it's going to go and fill it in this output window. Now, poof, a lot of code. Let's hope that it works. So let's try. Let me save. Let's go here. I don't know if I need to close the other server that I'm running, but let's take a look. Bring this here. So there is nothing here. If I click view all blogs, oh, we got some error. I will check during the break. So, but again, this is what we are doing. So when we click here, it's going to run that function. The function is fetching the data, and then we loop over all the blogs, and we are creating that div, and we are putting right here. So probably some typo. I'll double check, and we'll be back around like at 6:40 or 4-ish. Okay, I'll be here trying to fix it. But let's have like 5 minutes break. Thank you. Não, quando eu terminar. Daqui a pouco eu termino. Hum, hum. All right. Going back here. Can someone confirm that you can hear me and see my screen, please?
Yes, sir. We can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. So the thing that I did it, I missed it, was this closing curly brackets. I forgot to put it. So it was messing up the whole JavaScript file. So when I put it there and I run the request, so if I go back here and open with live server, I get this guy here. And again, if I click view all the blogs, we are getting exactly what we are expecting. That is a list of divs, right? So this is a div with a H2 and H3 with those things, then has another div, and this is from the for loop that we are looping over every single block. All right. So first button, we done. So let's try to go for the second button. The second button is, again, we are going to click on this. It's going to run a function. But and the function, the first thing the function needs to do is to get this number. So we need also to, in this function, get the blog number. And then, if you remember, as before, is when you say www and 8000 there, we are going to put the number / and the number, like number 3, and we are going to get from the server just one blog, not an array of blogs. So the treatment is going to be similar to view all the blogs, but not that quite. All right. All right. So basic stuff here. What do we need to do? We need to have ID for this one. We need to have a reference and an event listener attached to it. But this one here, I just need an ID, a reference for this location, because I need just to grab the number. I don't need an event listener here. So here is going to have reference and event listener. And here we are just going to have a reference. All right, so let's go for it. Let's try to work on that. Okay, so go back here. Let me close this guy here. And again, today is a lot of information, but most of them is kind of repeating itself. It's kind of this class is not one of the nice classes. It's a little boring. I don't know about you, but we are going to keep doing this, like a lot of code, and but you're going to learn about how to do HTTP requests, all sort of request types in JavaScript without the Postman, right? Okay, so we did that. We checked our progress. Now we are going to implement just a single blog. And if you remember, if you go all the way up here, view all the details of a single blog. So again, you have a button, but the ID is a little different. And again, we need to get that. Not only that, but the text, that is the blog number, also has an ID. So we need to get the references and add event listeners and so on. So let's do that. So in create DOM references, we are going to copy these two lines here. That is, one is for the button and the other is for the field itself, right? So if I go all the way up here and create DOM references here. And again, this is a reference for the button, and this is a reference for the number that the user will put it there. Just references, right? Now we need to add an event listener just for the button. So in 4.2, that's what we're going to do. So let's go back here. And here in the event listeners, we are placing this other one here. That basically you're saying when it clicks that button, go for this function here. retrieve and display one blog entry, right? So we need to create this function, and then it's going to run when you click that button. So the function, again, create the function to retrieve one blog is a function that needs to be async again, because it's going to use the fetch command. So copy this part here, 4.3. So let's go before the request that the functions that I create for you. Let's open there some space here and Control V there. So we are going to have that thing here. Now, if you pay attention, the one blog, basically what we have is the same as this guy here, with an additional information about the blog itself, right? The blog content or the article, right? So basically, all these things will be there plus additional one. So what we can do is kind of just copy what we have done for the other function, and we are going to add more things to it. So let me just double check here if it does. Yeah, it's right here. So so the first thing we need to do is we are going to get a hold on the blog number input element. So what is the value? So this is in 4.4.1. So if I add here, so I need that information to request that from the server, right? So how do we do that? That reference, remember that we just created, I wanted the value of it. So it's going to return, let's say, number 1, number 2, whatever you put it there. So this is the first portion that we need. Now, the second thing is when we issue the HTTP GET request, remember, now the URL needs to have that / and the number. So if you go 442 here section, let's copy this. Let's put it here, and I'll explain line by line. So what we have here is, again, I'm going to do a GET request. It's still a GET request, but now I'm providing the endpoint, then / and then the number, the blog number. So remember, this blog URL is this guy right here, right? And so if I do like this, so let me copy this just for you to understand what is happening. Control copy. Let me get a window here. Control V. So if I say / number 3 there, if I put the 3, I'm going to get this whole information of one blog only. It's not going to be an array of blogs. It's just one. So we don't need to do a for loop. We can do just that thing. We can get everything we need from just one blog. But again, we need to concatenate the / the blog ID with the URL, right? So that's what we are doing right here. So let me go back here. So look at that. I get the blog URL, then / and then I'll put the number. And if you notice, this is again is a template string. Look at that, is a template string. Okay. And then this is going to be just one string that we are using as input for the HTTP GET request. Now, this guy here, as I show you in my browser, is going to return just one blog. So it's not blogs anymore. It's just one blog, right? So that's the important thing that we need to mention here. All right, so let's keep moving. So we did the fetch, right? So we should get here just the blog information that we want. And now we are going to create all the information inside the response window. Remember that we have in our page. And then what we're going to do is basically the same what we have for all the blogs. However, it's just that we are going to add this line here. but we are going to generate a div, we are going to get a h2, and then a h3 for the author, and the p for the article. So basically, and then we put this when we create, we append this div into our response in our web page, right? So basically what we're going to do is that. So I'm going to copy this 443, copy the whole thing there, Control copy. I'll give some space here, Control V. So just going back here, I mean, we have done that in the other function before. We get a div, so we create a div on the fly, and this is the element. And then we get a h2, and then we are going to get the blog ID dash blog title. We have done that before. The author, the same thing. We are going to get a document here and get the h3. And the author element, we are going to say by and that. And look at that, it's just a blog, and we don't have, if you pay attention here, we do not have a for loop here, because the response that we are getting is already one blog, and that's what we need. So that blog is this guy here, this guy there, that we are just filling in things. And the article itself is just, again, you create a paragraph in this case, and then you put the blog article there in the inner text of that paragraph tag, right? Now what you need to do is, again, we need to, for this div element, div element, we are going to add the title, the author, and then the article element, right? So that's what we need to do. So these were all flying in the memory. Now they are all connected to this div element, but this div element itself that we created here, it's also flying now, right? It's flying, it has 3 components inside, but it's not really connected to your DOM tree from your document. So what we need to do as final step here, we need to concatenate, to add into that output window, right? So we need to put that. And remember, the output window is just this guy here, right? So we need to put it right there. So that's what we need to do. So first of all, we need to clean it up, whatever was here before, because you might be doing this search multiple times. So we need to clean it up. So that's what you're cleaning up here, the inner HTML from this output window. And then what we're going to do, you're going to add this div here that has all the information. We are going to put it, we are going to append into the output window. So we need to copy this 444. So copy here, Control copy, right there. So here, we are going to do this. I'm going to right click and format document, right? And that's it. That would do the trick for this function. Let's see here. One more thing that is interesting to do is, let's do without it first, and then I explain the solution. So let's go back here. Right click and open with live server. So remember, the view all blogs is working, so it's working fine. Now if I come here and say like blog 3 and I click the button view blog, you should see, oh, we got an error again. Oh man, blog 3, let me just double check here very quickly. This is live coding, right? So there is always a typo somewhere. Not defined. Let's see.
I think I found it.
Yeah, help me here then, please.
It's the line where it says let one block number equal the one block number text. You have
From my
61.
screen, 61.
Yeah, it's the element's not named that. It's named underscore text underscore input after
Okay.
number.
So let's see here. Yeah. So this guy here is this one here, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So again, this guy here. All right. So let's try it again. Okay. So again, let me just try the basic one. It's there. Now, if you say number 3 there and click it, and yes, perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So we have this, the soap operas and so on. But one thing I don't like it is this number 3 is still there. I would like, after I submit the request, this number 3 be cleaned. I don't need it here. So I would like to clean this guy here. So what we are going to do is, that is one step, is just for housekeeping. We are going to add an additional thing here. Can be right there. We are going to use the 445 here. Control copy, Control V. I'm just cleaning up that thing there. Is no, I put in the wrong place. So Control C is one display. Okay. Format and that's the name. So Control copy. Yeah, you need to change the name to this one. I'll fix this later for the next session for the fall. But again, just put this guy here. You need to replace. So again, when you run, it will erase that value. So the user doesn't need to erase something that can be done automatically. All right. So let's give a second here and do a poll, like a quiz again. So you have like a minute to do that. So here it goes, like that. Okay. Okay, more 10 seconds. Right. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. All right. So let me just download the results. Oops. What happened? All right. So basically share results. So what it does is the first, let me put here. All right. So the first one is the event type, right? Is a string, can be a click, can be a key up, or can be a drag and drop or whatever is an event, right? And change or so. And then the second is a function that is going to handle that event. So that's the right answer right here. So thank you very much about this. Let me close that. All right, so close this. Something is on my way here. Let's see. Downloads. Okay, let me save. All right. Very good, very good. All right, 7 o'clock, we can do a little bit more today. So let's go for the next one. So add a blog, a new blog to that, for new blog into the database of that fake server, right? So we need to provide the title, we need to provide the author, and we need to provide the content. So again, what do we need here? Can someone tell me the two things that we are going to need from this entry here?
You need a DOM reference for the button and an event listener.
Yeah, and for the other ones?
Oh, yeah, and DOM references for the
Very good. Do I need to add
text.
event listeners here?
No.
Very good. Because this is going to take the action, right? When I click here, the function will get the value here, here, and here. But when I change here, it doesn't take any action. Just to take action when this button is clicked. So that's the thing that this one has the DOM reference and the event listener, and this one's here just the references, because I need the references to grab the information that is inside, that is in the memory, right? So that's what we need to do. So come here. So let's do that part there. And again, it's going to be a lot of code, but that's why I make like a code insert, so we don't need to type all this code, thanks God. So here we are in the section 5 for add a new blog. And we need to do what? First of all, we need to go to DOM references, and we need DOM reference for the 4 elements that are in that area, right? In that field. So go back here. Create DOM references. So here I'm going to put 3 new ones there. Right, so again, 1 is for the button and 3 for the title, the author, and the article. Right, so we create the references and all these get element by ID. If you go here, so let's go back here. So this is add a new blog, right? This is the HTML. So these are the IDs that I'm looking at, right? So this ID, this ID, this ID, and this ID. So I need those IDs, but this one, not only the reference, but I need to put an event listener. So that's what we're going to do now. So if I go here, that is just one event listeners in 5.2. So let's go for it. So Control copy. And here, so add event listeners. We are going to go here. And then Control V right there. So we have the click, and when you click that button, we are going to run this function. So we need to create that function. So add one blog. So that's the function that we're going to create, the 531. And so let's create this empty function first, and then we are going to be placing things as we go along. So I'm going to put it here, Control V. So that's the function. And again, first of all, I need to get that information, the title, the author, and the article. So what I'm going to do is just use the dot value to get the information that the user has already placed in. All right, so we have here the title element, get the value, then you have the title, the author, and the article. So these variables now, it have the strings of all those things there. Very good. Now, what we need to do is when we call, let me go back here. We are not using the get anymore. We are using the post, right? And we are sending as input. Remember the get, we just send the URL, but now the post, we need to send the URL plus the data itself. And the data itself, the way that I put it here, I create this function is, this is a JSON object, right? So what we are going to do is we need to create from the text for those inputs, I need to create a JSON object. So that's what we are going to do. This is just text, but I want to really create a JSON object. All right, so if I go back here, you're going to use the 533. So this is right here. Control copy, Control V. So if you pay attention here, I'm just creating a JSON object using the equal and the curly brackets. Curly bracket means object, like a JSON object, and you have the key and value, key and value, key and value. This one is kind of a hard code because they need to be exactly what you have in your database. And remember, in the database, the text file, we have title, we have author, and we have article. Now, what you're going to populate with the value is what we get from the user. So the title is going to be whatever, Bananorama, and then by Paulo Brasco, and the article is whatever you want to put there. So we just create the new blog. So that's good. Now, basically, now we have all the information to send to the server. So we are going to do the HTTP post request. So it's very simple now. So it's just issuing that command, or that we call that function that we already have in our code. That is this guy here. Did I put it there? Just give me a second. We need to put the async. So don't forget the async, control copy. There is a lot of things that I need to fix in this this code inserts. Here, oops, we need to put the async, because this again is a function that takes a while, and then we need to wait, and then you need to use the async when you define the function. So don't forget about that. All right. So we have the blog URL, that is the blog that we are using. And then we have the new blog. So it should do the trick. The only thing that I would like to do is, again, I would like to clean it up, the fields, right? Remember, like we did before, I want to clean it up, the text fields that have been used. So the user doesn't need to clean it up by themselves. So I'm just going to put here, Control V, right there, format there. So I'm cleaning up those fields, and that should do the trick. Remember, sometimes when you request something to the server, you do not expect to get any information back. So you're not going to update anything. So you can do just, you don't need to add anything to the output window, right? This is more than enough. So let's try, let's see here. Another thing that I would like to do is, imagine that when you run this, when you click this button and you're running this, there was an output response from the previous one in that output area. So what I would like to do is, for the final thing, final touch here, I want to also clean the output window inner HTML. So before I have a list of blogs, but I create a new blog, I want to not only clean up the blog information, but also clean up that the inner HTML for that output window. Oof. So let's try Control Save. Let's check our application. So go back here. Let's see if there is any typo again. Someone, just give me a second here. Someone looks like a. All right. I talk to you in a second. So let's see here. Where I am here, right click and open with live server. Okay, I got this guy here. Let's move here. So let's try view all blogs. We get all those guys here. Now let's hope that there is no error. Let's say Bananorama. Put your name and put whatever you want there. Okay. And then add new blog. Let's cross our fingers. And you see that this has been cleaned up because we are adding a new blog, so it shouldn't show all the blogs. So that was good. Now, if we go to view all blogs now, let's see if the Bananorama is there, and it is. All right, so we successfully were able to create a new blog in the database. And just for a reminder, remember that we have that file, right? So if I go back here and here, the file that we are watching, you have just wrote a new entry there. So it's actually, it's not just in the memory, it has been already placed there. So if you close this application and you rerun, the Bananorama will be there. It's not just in the memory. It really saves the data into that file that we are watching. Okay. All right. Let's move this away. Okay. Does anybody has any questions so far?
I have one question.
Yes.
So how did you get the ID number when you were adding the new blog? Because it wasn't part of the input field.
You're saying this guy here?
No,
No,
when you add
no.
a new when you add a new blog,
Yeah.
there's not a field for the ID number of the
Oh.
blog itself, and I was wondering how you got that in there.
That's a great question. I'm very happy that you have asked that question. Too many windows here open. Let me close this a little bit. You can close this one too. Now, you have the JSON server, right? And any other server that deals with database, what happens is if you do not provide like a key, a preference key, what happens is it generates an auto number there. So we don't provide the number 6, but it goes through and see like, oh, the last one was 5. Let's create that number 6 there for us. So that's what it does. And thanks God, imagine that you are trying to put a new blog there, and you as a customer, you need to put a ID, and then you put 100 and it says, no, it's taken. You cannot use it. Okay, let me try 200. No, it's taken. You cannot use. Imagine the frustration that would happen, right? So to avoid that is the database itself, the server, when interacting with the database, will generate automatically for you the number.
Okay. I have like a weird random number. It's not like incrementing like yours, it seems. I have my number's 480C. So I wonder if that's because of different
Yeah.
JS or Node version, but
Yep.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Is the this version that you have installed? That is this small thing there. I will, if you remind me on, well, Tuesday is the exam day, but the next Thursday, I will show you the solution. But it's very important because for the lab, if you get this strange number that you're getting, that is not a number, it's a string. If you get that, you be sorry guys, it'll be harder to do the lab. So I will show you the solution for that next Thursday. Okay.
Thank you.
But thank you for input. All right. Thank you, everybody. And again, it's sometimes the class goes like this, right? You have a lot of code that we need to put in, and I do this way that code insert, so we don't need to type, thanks God, but we go line by line trying to understand what is happening, right? So I hope you are enjoying the way that the class is structured. But if you have any opinion how it could be better, just let me know. Have a nice weekend. And there is a lab for this week. Don't forget about that. And we meet you in person on Tuesday. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Have a great
Yeah.
one.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Professor. I did not make it to submit my quiz answer. Do you mind if are we able to open it up again and I submit my answer?
Why didn't you submit it before? Let me just stop the